it has been brought to my attention that sometimes during service you have questions that you would like answers to, that you may not be following where we're going with a point, or something that I say triggers something or whatever. So we're going to try something new. We're trying all sorts of new things. We're going to try something new. You can text me during service. Now, I'm not going to pick it up during my talk, but I will look at them after service, and if there's sufficient questions, and particularly around a specific sort of area, I might just invite you to go to lunch, and we'll talk about it. Otherwise, I plan to jump on our blog on the website, Joe, and actually add some new information there and answer the questions there. So if something pops up for you, you have permission to play with your phone and text this number, and we will get back to you. The other thing, while you've got your phones out, the other thing you can do is you can check in for Scottsdale Center for Spiritual Living on your Facebook page. That lets everybody know that we're here, all your friends. I love it. All right. So, no matter who we are or what our circumstances, we swim in conversations about what there isn't enough of. Now, when I first read that in Lynn Twist's book, The Soul of Money, I said, no, I don't do that. I don't do that. But then I began to read her examples, and I realized, ooh, maybe I do. I don't have enough time. I'm so busy. I don't have enough vacation. I don't have enough. There's just not enough time, right? And then I realized that I began to hear this from other people, that I don't have enough education. I don't have enough talent. I don't have enough energy, whatever that might be, that I don't have enough of. That place in our life where we think there's something missing. That place in our life where we think there's something missing. So I think I do swim in some of those conversations, and I would bet maybe you do too. You probably hear some of that lack around you as well. And we typically in Science of Mind think, oh, well, no, I know the abundance principles. I know the law of attraction. I know how to use this stuff. I don't do that. And yet there's this underlying little current of lack that kind of flows through our life, isn't there? That is all around us. So today we're going to be continuing our series, which is called The Soul of Money, and based on Lynn's book. And we're going to explore perhaps some hidden beliefs that we might have and not be aware of, how sort of insidious they might be, around scarcity. And where they might be holding us back from receiving this natural flow of abundance in which we live. We're going to also look at the other side of that and define for ourselves the idea of sufficiency. So scarcity and sufficiency, both ends of the spectrum this morning. Now, Lynn flat out in her book says scarcity is a lie. And I was surprised when I read that, because if you remember, her 40 years of history is all about working for the Hunger Project, which has a mission of eliminating hunger on our planet. So she's been in many places where abject poverty is the norm, where there's not enough to eat, where there are people starving. So to hear her say that and see that written out in the book surprised me a little bit. It surprised me. She believes that we hold a fundamental, we being the human race, holds a fundamental assumption of scarcity even when it overrides all logic and evidence to the contrary. Also an interesting statement. She backs this up with some stories and examples in her book, one of which is about an executive that is negotiating their salary. And the salary on the table is $10 million for this executive. And this executive is going, oh no, it's got to be 15. It's got to be 15. So the question that she raises is, how much is enough? How much is enough? That's an extreme example, but she deals in the extremes of extreme wealth and extreme poverty because she's doing fundraising for feeding the hungry. So she works in both spectrums and has a wonderful perspective that she's boiled down into this thing she calls the soul of money. Victoria Castle, I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's also a prosperity teacher and author of a book called The Trance of Scarcity. And she agrees with this idea, but she takes it to the personal level. And she says, in working with thousands of people, I have repeatedly encountered the tragic theme of I am not enough. So not the idea of there's not enough outside, but that I am not enough. Not good enough, smart enough, rich enough, young enough, old enough, worthy enough. And this prevailing premise of not enoughness successfully cripples the lives of people who would otherwise be buoyant and passionate. She goes on to suggest that to upgrade from scarcity and struggle to abundance and ease, that we have to interrupt and dislodge those patterns of thinking. Sound familiar? Yeah. She says the old patterns are like a cat that likes to sleep on your head, but isn't the least bit interested in the fact that you're allergic. It's time to move the cat. A little discomfort now can end a lifetime of suffering. And I love that analogy. It's time to move the cat. And I wonder if Ernest Holmes ever used that type of analogy in his teaching of change your thinking, change your life. It's time to move the cat. Time to move the cat. So when we look at the idea of not enoughness, Lynn suggests that there are three sort of universal myths that she has uncovered throughout humankind that seem to run through all of our thinking. And in Science of Mind, of course, we call that race consciousness or universal beliefs that pretty much permeate all of humankind. It's ideas that we've just sort of universally agreed on. And when we look at the power of myth and superstition in our lives, we realize that they only have power when we believe them, right? They only have power when we believe them. So I wanted to look at a couple of things that we might believe that are myths in our reality, and I looked up some stuff this week, and you may know this. I didn't, so I'm going to share it with you. One is, remember the witches that were burned at the stake in Salem, Massachusetts? Everybody's heard those stories, right? The burning of the witches. It's February of 1692 to May of 1693, long time ago, 400 years ago. Nearly 200 people were accused of practicing witchcraft. However, most were jailed, but 19 were hanged, and one man was crushed with heavy stones. None were burned at the stake. Where did that come from? Where did that myth come from that lived for so long? But there's absolutely no evidence that ever happened. Absolutely no evidence. Who likes baseball? Anybody? Nobody? Everybody been to Cooperstown? Cooperstown, New York? You know, that's the famous place of the baseball founding and all that stuff, right? Abner Doubleday is routinely touted as the inventor of baseball, but there is little, if any, evidence to support that claim. When baseball started getting popular, there was actually a committee called the Mills Committee, organized with the purpose of tracking down the origins of the sport. Now, one of the people that served on that committee was a gentleman by the name of Albert Spalding. Ever heard of him? Yeah. He hated that baseball was seen as simply a variation of the English game called rounders. He didn't like that idea. He wanted his beloved pastime to be 100% American-made. So they may have fabricated this story that fit perfectly with the Civil War general named Abner Doubleday, who created the sport in his youth living in a small town in New York. That's how these things happen. So whether it's true or not, we don't know, but they would seem to suggest there was no evidence that this Civil War general created baseball. So what about these myths of scarcity that Lynn is talking to us about? What about these guys? Well, the first one she says is, there is not enough. There's just not enough. Well, we all know a pie is so big and there's only so many slices of the pie, right? So that would seem like it's true. There is not enough. Have you ever played the children's game called musical chairs? Yeah, we've all played it. And it teaches us scarcity, doesn't it? Because there's never enough chairs for everyone. And the music always stops, doesn't it? Yeah, the music always stops. So it's teaching us at a very young age about scarcity. Isn't that crazy? The things we don't even think about and how they permeate within us. So there's not nearly enough time, not nearly enough sleep. I need more rest. There's not nearly enough help. There's not nearly enough fill in the blanks, right? Fill in the blanks for you, for whatever may be lacking in your life. The second myth that she brings is more is better. More is better. Yeah. If 1 is good, 2 would be better, right? And 4's got to be great. We can get caught up in that, can't we? We can get caught up with that, particularly if it's on sale. Oh, man. Paper towels are on sale. I'm going to get 4 cases. I don't know where I'm going to put them, but I'm going to get them, right? We kind of have that mentality. And it's a little bit of the competitive nature and a culture of accumulation that we might have. We see it on TV and we see it in pictures, people that hoard. I mean, wow. Some of us have dealt with clutter in our lives. Many of us have downsized our homes or offices, or maybe doing that right now. I did it a couple of years ago, and you've all heard many of my stories about that fun project. But it's kind of like Zig Ziglar talked about how to cook a frog, isn't it? You put a frog in hot water, he jumps out. You put a frog in cold water, and you turn the heat up slowly, he'll just sit there and cook. And that's what happens, I think, with clutter. You know, until something happens where we move or change or we look around suddenly and go, where did all this stuff come from? Goodness gracious. Where did all this stuff come from? My dad was famous for that. I might need this someday. Have I ever said that? Gentlemen? I might need this someday. I'll hang on to that for a while longer. Yeah, he was famous for that, and upon his passing, 99% of that ended up in the dumpster. He never had a need for it. It never came up. How about your closet? Anybody still hanging on to blue jeans from 1978? Legs about that wide? Yeah. So we do. We hang on to these things, either from sentimental reasons or from maybe I'll fit in them again someday reasons or make a cute Halloween costume. But we do. We hang on to stuff. We hang on to stuff. More is better. Better, better, better. So the key to decluttering is, of course, to get to the core belief. Get to the core belief of why is it that I feel the need to buy the extra, have the extra, keep the extra. Why is it that I believe more is better? Is it a belief in lack? Is it a belief in lack? So the third myth, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Right? And this one is almost a statement of resignation, isn't it? Oh well. What's that saying? Death and taxes? Oh well. It's just a sense of resignation, hopelessness, almost victimhood. It's just the way it is. There's nothing I can do about it. In Science of Mind, again, we talk about race consciousness or universal consciousness, the commonly held beliefs of humankind. But I think this really speaks to the hopelessness of our lack of power, our lack of choice, our lack of choice. But we know we have choice at all times, don't we? But we can feel like we don't have choice sometimes. We may feel like we're stuck in a system. We may feel like we got to keep up with the Joneses or we've got a hoard to keep up, whatever that might be. But we can always make a choice to do differently, to make a new decision, take a new direction. Now, most of us in this room have probably cleaned up our thinking in that area. We've been studying these principles for many years. We've probably cleaned up our thinking in that area, but sometimes it can still creep in, can it? All of these myths can still creep in. This one is just the way it is. If you think it's not there, next time you're in a political conversation, see if you see it. It's just the way it is. Read some stuff on the internet. It's just the way it is. Or if somebody says, I'm not voting, my vote will never count. It's just the way it is. That's how that permeates our thinking. That's how it permeates our thinking. We are not at the mercy of the system. We have the power of choice. We're individualized, unique, individual expressions of God. We have the power of choice in our lives. So let's move to the surprising truth of sufficiency. Sufficiency. Do you believe that you live in an abundant universe? We talk about that here. Believe that we live in an abundant universe. Do you believe that you're naturally prosperous? Really, 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 really believe it. Good. So as I looked at this week and started to question, what does that really mean? What does all that really mean? Is there something out there that I can use as an example? And I came across a really fun example of fruit trees. Anybody grown fruit trees? Yeah. Fruit trees are pretty cool. I'm going to use the apple tree as an example. I grew up with apple trees. And the apple tree is in dormancy from about now until springtime. And when the trees go into dormancy, of course, their sap goes down and not up in the limbs and stuff, so it's not feeding it at that point. It's a good time for pruning and treating diseases and things like that. Then in the spring, as the weather begins to warm, the sap begins to rise, and then all of these blossoms come out. All of these blossoms come out. And did you know that about 75% of the blossoms on an apple tree are destroyed by wind and rain? So only the 25% of the strongest apple blossoms stay with the tree and ultimately become fruit. Now imagine if all of those apple blossoms, 100% stayed. Well, the tree probably couldn't support it, wouldn't have the resources to support it. And the weight might even break the limbs, right, and destroy the tree. So there's this wonderful cycle of life and sustainability and growth that we see demonstrated in the apple tree. And the tree, again, does not have the resources to sustain all of the flowers. Then once the tree bears fruit, anybody ever cut into an apple? What's inside? Seeds. Every apple produces seeds. Every seed within the apple, there's usually 4, 8, whatever that is. Every seed has the capacity to produce more trees and more apples. That's an abundant system, isn't it? It's got a period of rest and dormancy to heal itself, to prune itself, to be ready for the new ideas, the new warmth coming forward in the spring and the blossoming of that new growth. And then there's more cleansing that continues to happen with the wind and the rain. So the challenges that make us stronger, we talked before about how stalks on plants need the wind in order to strengthen them. They break a little bit in the wind so that they can grow stronger. And the same is true for us, just like this apple tree. We have our own dormancy periods, don't we? A time where it's a quiet time for growth, for renewal, for expansion, for healing. And then our sap begins to rise as we begin to discover new ideas and begin to allow them to grow within us. And then the abundance within us begins to flow forth as well, as we are now calling in that which we are now as opposed to that which we were before dormancy. Because we change and grow, right? I thought that was a great example. So manifesting abundance is always the result of a cycle of preparation because we've got to be ready to receive the good. You know, many times I work with clients who say, you know, I really need a lot of money. How much do you need? I need $1 million. Great. How much can you receive? Oh, well, I can receive 1,000. I can receive 10,000. Because there's a receptivity within us that there's a knowingness of what I can truly receive. Right? And where we are, we have to meet ourselves where we are. Not only meet each other where we are, but meet ourselves where we are. So we have to be ready to receive our greater good. So if we take this example from nature, we can begin to see that life is unfolding in the perfection of God that it is, just like we are. Just like we are. Nature's balance is enough with a capital E. Nature's balance is enough. So my question for you today is, where is your enough? Where is your enough? What is sufficiency for you? And check in and see if that enough is being motivated by one of these three myths. Because those myths can motivate us in directions about more, can it? Is lack just perception? You can still hear Ernest Holmes in his basic idea, change your thinking, change your life. So let's look at some principles this week for these ideas of applying these ideas and changing our thinking. So our first one is to look for the musical chairs in your life. Look for the musical chairs in your life. Where do you catch yourself believing that there's not enough? There's not enough. Where's the competition? Competition, a feeling of competition is really a feeling of not enoughness, isn't it? I've got to get it before they do. I've got to win because I'll lose if I don't win. So catch your thoughts of not enough, money, sleep, time, whatever it is, and ask yourself, is this true? When you wake up in the morning, you go, I didn't get enough sleep. Ask yourself, is that true? Is that true? And if it is true, write down some different choices you could make, because recognize that cause and effect, right? Lack of sleep is an effect, isn't it? That has a cause called choice. So maybe we need to go to bed a little earlier, not watch that last episode of Downton Abbey or whatever's out there today, right? Yeah, self-care. Conscious choices. Number 2, if you're feeling like something is lacking in your life, watch your behavior around this idea of more is better. Around the idea of more is better. Notice your actions and activities this week and the times when you take the extra or the more. I need to buy one more. I'll take 2. They're on sale too for, what is that thing? Buy one, get one half off? Really? Do I need that? Okay, ladies, I've got a confession. Anybody ever been to the shoe store and seen that sale? Buy one, get one half off. Okay, what's your motivation? I got to find a second pair. I found these, I love them, but I'm not finding a second pair. I got to find a second pair. Because more is better, right? Hello? So I'm guilty of it, I confess. So notice of sufficiency in your life. When you're full at the table, when you're tired, do you rest? Or do you stay up just a little longer? Notice where more is better shows up in your life and ask yourself, if I believe in the natural abundance of life, the constant givingness of God, would I take this action? Would I take this action? Number 3, pay attention to feelings of hopelessness or victimhood. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Whenever you feel resigned to a situation, can't change, just how it is, got to accept it. Pause and look more closely and ask yourself, why do I feel powerless in this situation? Why do I feel powerless here? Asking ourselves questions really does trigger our minds to find the answers, doesn't it? It really does. It's a powerful practice. And then the second question is, what would I do if I were brave? I love the song. What would I do if I were brave? What action can I take to move from victim to victory? Number 4, again, how much is your enough? How much is your enough? And I don't mean that from the standpoint of, well, I'll just take this because that's all I am worthy of. I mean simply, how much is enough? Many of us have done the prosperity practice of taking $1,000 and spending it, writing out everything we would spend it on this day. Then the next day it's $2,000. The next day it's $4,000. Then it's $8,000. then it's 16, 32, 64, and so on. Until you get to a point where it's like, enough, right? I can't spend anymore. I can't give anymore. I can't, because the numbers just continue to double and double and double and double. If you do that practice for 30 days, it will inform you a lot about your enough, particularly in the area of money. It's a wonderful, wonderful prosperity practice. So if you've got an area of your life that's not money, that is maybe not unfolding like you would like it to, you know, that thing you're working on, if you've got an area of your life, relationship, finance, career, health, or even spirituality, reflect on it in your meditation time this week. And ask, where is enough in this? Where is enough in this? If it's relationship, if you have one, and you want more in that relationship than what's there, or if you don't have one and you want a relationship, what does it look like? Are you looking outside yourself at a them? They've got to be more. They've got to show up. They've got to do. Are you looking within and going, me, I am? Because we know when we become the love, then that's mirrored back to us, isn't it? Either in our existing relationship or in that new one we're calling in. If it's finance and money, again, what is enough? How much stuff is enough? Found your enough place and discover peace in your finances. And that practice I described is a good one to do that. Career. How do you know when you're happy with your career? Anybody work with somebody that just complains about the job or the boss or the whatever all the time? And it's like, oh my gosh, it's broken record, right? Or anybody do that to yourself? Complain in your own head, maybe, about your job. How much is enough? What does career mean to you? Is it just, I need a paycheck? I'm working for benefits? What does it mean? Is it a place to unleash your creativity and your gifts and your talents? Is it a place to contribute? What does it mean to you? What is your enough in career? Health and fitness. Do you need to go to the gym 2 days a week? 2 times a day, 5 days a week? What's enough for you? What is enough? We all have different ones, don't we? That's the beauty of being individuals. And what about food? What's enough? Do you know your point of satisfaction with food, or are you like me, grew up as a member of the Clean Plate Club? You ate till the plate was clean, right? You know, there's healing work in that. There's healing work in that, you know, I had the pleasure of actually being able to stand in my truth with my parents. You know, my dad's like, clean your plate. And I'm going, I'm done. I'm done. You know, we'll put it away for later. I'm done. So, spirituality. Balance in all things, right? Some of us might like to sit on our meditation cushions all day long, every day. But we know the reality of pray without ceasing is really walking in the world and being in the oneness with each other and ourselves and our wholeness, and being that beneficial presence, contributing our consciousness to a world that works for all. That's really our spirituality, isn't it? It's not just the being portion, it's also the doing portion as well. It's also the doing portion as well. So the bottom line is we all have the power of choice. Each and every one of us, yes? We all have the power of choice. And the question we must ask ourselves is, do I choose prosperity or do I choose scarcity for my life today? That's really our choice. That's really our choice. Ernest Holmes tells us in The Science of Mind, when we learn to trust the universe, we shall be happy, prosperous, and well. Sounds simple. Trust the universe and be happy, prosperous, and well. We must learn to come under the divine government and accept the fact that nature's table is ever filled, just like the apple tree. Nature's table is ever filled. Are you ready to receive your good? Are you ready to receive your good? So I wish you all peace and prosperity in the coming week. If you're with us for the first time, we welcome you. We have another gift for you on your way out this morning. See our beautiful volunteers at the table. They will be happy to talk with you a little bit more. At this time, I would invite you to join me in an affirmative prayer this morning. How good it is that we have this time of celebration each and every Sunday morning as we can come together in community in the recognition of the one power, the one presence, the one life, the one love, and that is God. It is the source, it is the essence, the presence, the power. It is all that there is. And all of that is here, now, present, in, through, and as me, as a manifestation of it. I am that love, I am that power, I am that grace, I am joy, I am spirit. Just like the drop of the ocean and the wholeness of the ocean. And as I know this truth for and about me, I know this for and about each one of us here today, for we are all manifestations of that infinite love in this time-space reality, in this particular moment, sharing this space together here today by divine appointment. As we come together and look at scarcity and prosperity, sufficiency, enough. So I speak my word this day for and about each of us. As I know that we choose this idea of prosperity as we've been choosing it all year. It is our theme this year. For we know the prosperity in our lives is not just about money. It's a prosperous way of thinking, being, believing, and showing up in the world. For there is more than enough. We do live in an abundant universe. We are the divine creations of the Most High. And in this prayer, I speak a special word of healing for our beautiful practitioner, Lori, knowing that healing is revealed in, through, and as her now. That whatever the cause, it is eliminated. And in its place is the wholeness revealed of who she is, knowing peace and grace for the family, knowing that all of the resources that they need, both spiritually, medically, financially, are available to them, revealed through them now. And I know for anyone else in the room who may have something on their heart that they seek prayer around this day, that as they lift that into their high consciousness this morning, that we lift this before the altar of prayer, knowing the truth is revealed, that healing is made manifest, that financial flow, that whatever the need is, it is met here now in this moment at the level of their belief, whatever that may be. So it is with great gratitude and a joy-filled heart that I accept the manifestation of this prayer as I release it into the activity of mind, knowing that the word spoken is the word made manifest, that it is done unto us as we believe. I release this and let it be, and we affirm it together by saying, and so it is.